Are you tired of spending your time and money chasing strategy after strategy only to discover what worked 10, 5, or even 2 years ago is not working now? Things shift fast in the online space, and if you're not keeping up, you're getting left behind. It's time for something different. Welcome to the Marketing, Media, and Money Podcast, where every single episode will be jam-packed with proven, profitable strategies, behind-the-scenes secrets, and what's working now resources from industry experts and global influencers to help you scale your business, shorten your learning curve, and stand out in a crowded, noisy marketplace. And now, your host, award-winning marketing and media strategist, and international speaker, Patty Farmer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Marketing, Media, Money Podcast. I'm your host, Patty Farmer, and I am looking forward to sharing today's industry expert with you. And I have to tell you, today we're going to be talking about your favorite topic, the thing that everybody wants to talk about, the result that everybody wants to get, because today we're talking about sales. So let me tell you a little bit about the expert that we have today, because this girl walks her talk, not just talks her talk. So let me tell you a little bit about her. So with 10 plus years in sales and leadership, Wesleyne Greer understands the challenges of being at the top of her game. Having managed multi-million-dollar teams, Wesleyne marries her love for sales and her passion for coaching at Transform Sales. She has a strong track record for driving revenue through sales, marketing, and ongoing customer support. And this has earned her numerous accolades, including multiple Sales Team of the Year and Sales Excellence Awards. So I told you that she could walk her talk, and we have her here with us, and we are going to dive deep into sales. So thank you so much, Wesleyne, for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited. So I got to tell you, I'm going to try to fit as many things as I can here. And I really appreciate you sharing your zone of genius so generously with us. So let's just dive right in. So let's start off with the question that, for me in marketing, I get asked this question all the time. And I'm sure you do too. So let's go with that. So what is the difference through your lens between marketing and sales, and specifically between a marketing and sales funnel? Because I know, and you know, they're not the same, but I think people interchange them a lot and they think that they are.
Yes, that is an excellent question. I also get asked that question a lot. And so the difference really between sales and marketing is building your funnel. It is building your brand awareness. It's getting people to know who you are, really build that know, like, and trust. Whereas sales is, now they know, like, and trust me. How can I get the dollars in my pocket? How can I close and convert that actual person? And I really think that a salesperson and a marketing person, they think differently, right? A marketing person is all about, how is the world going to perceive me? How are the customers going to perceive me? Whereas a salesperson is thinking about, how is the one customer going to perceive me? How am I going to close that one sale? So again, when you talk about a sales funnel and a marketing funnel, the marketing funnel starts with some kind of campaign. And that's not even my lane, so I won't even start going there. But basically, that marketing funnel is building your brand awareness, getting people into the top of your funnel, building that marketing campaign, really attracting them to yourself, your company, your products. Whereas the sales funnel is moving them through the sales process. And when we talk about moving them through the sales process, we're talking about know who we are, they're aware of us, how can we convert them as quick as possible?
I love that. And I really feel that the one thing that marketing and sales both do, though, is that they both recognize that the customer or the end user, right, really has a problem and we have a solution. And so I think that what makes us successful in both marketing and sales is making sure that when we do that know, like, trust, when we are doing the conversion, when we are having those conversations, that we are always aware of the fact. And like you said, whether it's one person or whether you're talking to many people, what is that problem and what is the solution that you provide? So I think that that is really important. And I love the way you kind of rounded that out for us. So that's really good. So thank you so much. I also feel like I want to start, because I have so many things to ask you. I really want to start with dispelling some of the myths, right? Because people have a lot of myths out there in pretty much every industry, but I'm going to say I really believe in sales, they have a lot of myths, right? What would you say is probably the number one myth that people think about sales?
The number one myth that people think about sales, I would say, is that sales is hard. People think that sales is very, very difficult because they think of the used car salesperson and that is their idea of sales. Like, I don't want to be that person. And then they think about the telemarketer who is calling and bothering you all the time. And they say, I don't want to be that person. But really, that's not what sales is. Sales is building a relationship with people. And something that you said was identifying the problem that they have, the pain that they have, and really, really solving that. That's all sales is. It is, you have a problem, I have a product, I can solve the problem with my product.
I really like that. I think I would say that based on what you just said, that wasn't the examples that you gave. That wasn't sales. That was salesy, right? That was somebody's sleazy sales. That's what it is. And you know what? You're right. I think a lot of people think that that is what it is. I know for myself, Wesleyne, when I first became a speaker specifically, I really felt that, right? Because a lot of times, you're up there educating. There's multiple different ways to speak. For me, I teach 9 models of that. But with that said, when I became a speaker a decade ago, from the front of the room, one of the things I really realized is if you're educating somebody, so whether you're doing it in a conversation, from a stage, on a podcast, whatever the case may be, one of the things that I had to learn is if you're educating somebody and at the end of that, you don't actually share or invite them to learn more about how they could implement that or take action, you're kind of actually doing them a disservice. It's like, oh, here's what you need to do. I'm not going to show you how, or I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm just going to tell you that's what you need to do. Well, that really doesn't help anybody. So if people would think about sales when they're thinking about serving, it's really just an invitation for them to take the next step if you have the right solution for them. So I think that if people could shift their mindset a little bit about sales, they would really be able to understand that sales is a way of serving.
Right. And everything that you said is right on point. When you are giving people something of value, right? You are saying, okay, I have this little thing and I'm going to show you how to do this little thing. But you know that they have a greater problem, or you know that there's so much more that you can offer them. And at the end of the day, a lot of people are, well, I'm scared to ask for money, right? So they get over the sales is hard or it's sleazy sales. And then they're like, but I have to ask them for money. And what I always say is you have bills to pay, right? You have to eat. We all have to eat. So you buy products and services all the time. And if you ask someone, hey, pay me for the value I'm giving you or this product that I produce that's going to help you, you are actually helping them, right? What you're doing, you're serving them fully by selling your solution to that person.
I 100% agree with that. One of the things that I remember was an example that when I was at a sales conference once, well, actually it was a conference and I was speaking about marketing, but they were speaking about sales and they used this example and it made a lot of sense to me. And it's really about, again, that conversation that you talk about all the time. I mean, that's your whole thing, is about the conversation. And in the story, what she shared was if somebody drove, an Audi and they had this little sports car and they loved it, and you were trying to tell them how you have the biggest, greatest SUV, they're just not hearing it because there's just not it's not a solution that they're looking for because they don't have a problem. But fast forward 3 months later, when that same person who's driving around in that Audi is pregnant with twins, now all of a sudden she's thinking, how am I going to fit 2 car seats in the back of my little Audi? And she is open to a conversation about maybe how that is the best, getting the best reports of that SUV, because now she's thinking about safety and room and all these things. But if you didn't have a conversation with that person and you didn't listen and find out what changed in their life, you'd still be trying to sell them into something that isn't even a solution that they're looking for. So it's really about the conversation.
Right. It is. And, really the first step in the sales process is prospecting. And so many people give up so quick. Like in that example that you just used, that person in 3 months, they had the problem. And after 3 calls or 3 touches or 3 engaging with them on a social platform, you give up, then you're giving up your opportunity to actually turn it into a sale, because people may not be ready today, but you don't know when they'll be ready. And really, it takes 12 to 15 touches to convert a prospect just to get the first meeting, not even to close the sale, just to get the first meeting. On average, it takes 12 to 15 touches.
That's really amazing because, a lot of people think that they can just go and make some really cute graphics and get on social media and somebody's going to see that and say, wow, even if they are talking to them and they do resonate with that, maybe they're raising their hand. It doesn't mean they're raising their hand for the sale. They're raising their hand to say, oh, I'm ready to have a conversation and learn more. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think when people rush to the sale is when they get the no, because I don't know about you, but have you ever, I'm sure you've had somebody tell you this, where they didn't get the sale. And then all of a sudden on social media, you see that they hired somebody else that provides that same solution. Yeah. And you didn't get the sale because you literally went too quickly, because that's why it's really a process. I always like to say it's like dating. And that first graphic they saw on social media isn't actually even the first date yet. It's just they saw you across the room, right? So right. I think that is really important. And I think that because of that, people fall over themselves making mistakes. So let's talk a little bit about what people shouldn't do before we switch over to all the great ideas and tactics that you're going to teach us about what we should do. So what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes that people make in sales?
One big mistake that people make, it is my pet peeve also, is when they schedule a discovery meeting and they make it all about them, right? They put up their PowerPoint slides, they talk all about their product, their service, how great they are. And you're just like, okay, that's great. Because at the end of the day, you haven't connected with me. You don't know what my problem is. And so you may not even be showing me features that are important to me. I really want to solve this one thing, right? And so many times people feel like this is the only time that I'm going to ever get to speak to this prospect, so I have to impress them. And in your first meeting, when you conduct your very first meeting, the most important thing is you should be talking less than 25% of the time. You should let the other person talk. Just sit there. If you have something on your mind, write it down on a notepad and maybe you bring it up. But open-ended questions, let the other person talk. It's not about you. I tell my clients, I'm sorry, I know your mom loves you, but nobody cares about you in the first meeting. It is all about the prospect.
Well, how are you going to find out what their problem is if you don't ask them questions or let them talk? I always like to tell my clients that there's a reason that God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. And that's because you're supposed to be doing twice the listening than you are the talking, because you may think you know exactly what they need, but nothing's going to, kill the sale faster than you trying to tell somebody what they need. And I have to tell you, one time I had somebody that was an insurance agency. I've been with my insurance agency for my vehicles for literally over 30 years. The same company. They do great service. I just love them. And one time I had somebody say, well, I would love to give you a quote. And they called me up and gave me this quote. And they had asked me how much I paid. And when they gave me the quote, they did give me a quote that was literally like $1,500 cheaper. But here's the part that's funny. They didn't know what kind of car I drove. They didn't have the VIN number. They hadn't pulled my credit. So really, that was BS. That was just a way to get in the door and get me all excited. And then when they did all that, maybe it was going to be that, maybe it wasn't going to be that. But like, how in the world could you give me a quote and try to sell me something? You didn't even have the information, not even what my problem was of why would I leave a company that I was with for 30 years. You didn't even ask that. But not only that, you didn't even have the information you needed to be able to provide a solution for me. And I see it over and over and over again. So I do understand that about a pet peeve. And you said something really important in what you said when you said, impress me. I'm going to tell you, to me, in a call, the thing that you're going to be able to do to impress somebody more than anything is that you listen to what they had to say.
Yeah, you just have to listen. And people value that so much. I mean, when I have worked with entrepreneurs and business owners and new salespeople in the past, literally after we have this whole discussion about conducting a successful first meeting, they try the tactics and they're like, I learned so much about that person. And now I actually know what I need to do next. And I've even had people say, I've never had a meeting like this before, like this, because it's different. It's not what your instincts tell you. But when you just listen more than you talk, that is so, so, so key.
That's so true. So I know we kind of just touched a little bit like on testimonials and what other people say. So I really kind of want to know. So Wesleyne, what is the best compliment you've ever received from a client?
The best compliment, I would say that, and I guess multiple clients have told me that I've changed their life. And a lot of times when you think about a sales coach or a sales leadership coach, you're not thinking somebody who can change your life. But when you have the confidence to go out there and ask for the sale, and that sale helps you buy a car or pay off your debt or fund your college account, I mean, those things, for me, those are the biggest compliments. So when somebody's told me that I've changed their life, that is a huge compliment for me, because that tells me that I've helped instill in them the confidence to lead their team or to go out there and ask for the sale and really accomplish it and earn the commission, the bonus, the money that they need to improve their quality of life.
Which I think is really, really important too, because, you know, even when you first start learning how to do sales right, because it's kind of a new way of doing things, which really honestly is, like, to me, the only way you should do it, right? Because I believe not just in the environment that we're in right now, but in the business environment, relationships are the currency that we use, right? So I feel like it kind of cracks me up when people don't do that. But what I love is I love the name of your company, Transform Sales, because you are really actually helping people transform their life, right? And their business and their life. And that does get them the things that they want and they need, right? But it's not just that you're doing it for their clients. I mean, based on what you just said, when you help someone, when someone hires you and you can help them to be more confident, to ask for the sale better, to be able to do that, you're not just transforming the life of your client, the person who hires you, but you're transforming the lives of every single person that they now go serve, and it transforms their life too. So that is pretty powerful, pretty powerful. So great job.
Thank you.
So, you know, here's the thing. So let's kind of talk about what we were saying about conversations and relationships. So you kind of said that about your pet peeve about a discovery call. So I have to tell you, it's really kind of funny because that is my pet peeve too, is when somebody, you know, you get on a call with somebody and it's a discovery call and they make it into a sales call. I have to tell you, one time it wasn't even a call. I met someone in person. This cracks me up every time I tell the story, but I met them at a coffee shop and they sold makeup, but it was makeup I was interested in doing. They had a certain thing that they were promoting about it, and I was interested in it. It wasn't actually the reason we were getting together, but I was kind of interested in it. But I will never forget that we were sitting at that coffee shop and she reached into her purse and came out with this warm cloth and actually invited me to go into the bathroom at this restaurant and wipe off my makeup so that she could try her makeup on me. Like, I was like mind boggled. I'm like, are you for real? Like, I couldn't believe it. And I thought it's an extreme case, but it did happen. Scott's honor, it really actually did happen. And so I really realized that whether you're meeting that person in person or whether you're on a call, a discovery call and a sales call are not the same thing. So for those people out there that are going, it's not, we're going to share with everybody really honestly, what is the difference between a discovery call and a sales call?
So a discovery call is you're just dipping your toe in the water, right? Because you may think that the person is an ideal client or referral partner or whatever they are, but you don't know. So the discovery call is really to discover if that person is a qualified prospect. So going back to what I said previously in terms of you should be talking less, asking lots of open-ended questions, you're just getting to know this person. So this is not the time to sell. And a lot of times people will ask, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. You should do that in 60 to 90 seconds. You give them the quick little overview, and then you flip it right back on them and say, so you mentioned that you have 3 kids and XYZ. Like, it needs to be about them, because the more comfortable a person is with you, the more they're willing to say, hey, I do want to do business with you. Whereas a sales call is, okay, you had your discovery call. You said, yes, this is a great person. I want to move further in the process. The sales call is, now I know about you. I know your pains. I know your struggles. I know your desires. So now let me tell you how I can help you, right? So when you think about the difference between the two, the sales call, yes, that's about you, but that's never the first meeting or call or time you meet with someone to actually convince them to buy your product.
Oh, good. And you said something I want to clarify right here. So when you've had a discovery call with somebody that leads to a sales call, would you say that before it goes from a discovery call to a sales call, that you've actually asked their permission to be on a call and that it is going to be about sales? Because I know for me, like, I come from a networking background. And so when I'm networking with people and we're, in this whole discovery process, get to know, maybe somebody does an introduction for you and they told you, oh my gosh, they need to hire you. Just because they told you that, you get all excited, doesn't mean that the person you're getting on the call actually knows it yet, right? But when you do, and it's a discovery, I've been on calls like that people have tried to actually get into a sales conversation with me. And I've literally said to them, really, this was kind of just like a discovery call, really just kind of discover if we're the right fit for each other. And they're like, no, but I really want to know. It's like, oh, well, then let's just set up another time where we can actually talk sales. And they give me permission. Maybe sometimes it goes a little bit different. Maybe sometimes, they're asking me things and I do believe that I have a solution. And rather than doing that, I will actually say to them, based on this conversation, I actually do believe that I have a few solutions for you. Are you open to, kind of discussing some of those solutions? And then I set a time, but I always feel like nobody wants to feel like they got, put into a conversation that they really, actually, I don't even think it'll be as successful either. But I think really knowing the difference between a discovery call and a sales call and using it wisely is important. And not only that, but I can't even tell you how many times I've said that, Wesleyne, and people have said, no, I understand. That makes a lot of sense. I'm giving you permission because I really want to know right now because I have the problem right now, right? And, that's okay too. That has actually happened for me as well. But you are always getting their permission to be able to talk about sales.
Yeah.
Right?
And, at the end, the key with the discovery call and why people try to turn it into a sales call is because they're like, well, I've had 10 discovery calls and nothing happens. That's because of you. That's not because of the person you're talking to. There has to be some kind of call to action. So towards the end of the call, you need to say, I learned more about you. I really love to further this conversation, or can we schedule a meeting next week so we can dig a little bit deeper into this, again, 1 or 2 problems, not the 10 things that they told you, the 1 or 2 that are higher level. So I would like to discuss it with you. And figure out if maybe we can work together or if I have a solution that I can offer you. And then another key at the end of that discovery meeting is, in order to have your sales process as short as possible, you need to ensure you have the right people on that sales call. You have to, if you're selling to let's say you're selling business to consumer, you need to know, okay, does the husband and wife need to be there? Do the kids need to buy in? If I'm selling to another business, do I need to talk to the CEO and the CFO and the HR person? All of those people need to be in that call so you can shorten your process. Otherwise, you're just going on a hamster wheel, right? You're just like, I have this meeting. Okay, then another one with this person. So those are the keys to really setting up that discovery call.
I also think that one of the things that I have learned over time is that if you set that up in the beginning, are you the decision maker, or is there somebody else that we're going to need to have on this call? At the end of that call, should they say, oh, I have to talk to my husband, you just avoided that conversation because you did it at the beginning. So I'm a firm believer in wherever you can see there possibly could be an objection, let's ask the right questions and get rid of those objections at the beginning so it isn't what's going to happen at the end, because I think that it's just much more successful for you. And I feel like it's more successful for them as well. Wouldn't you say?
Yep, I definitely agree. You want to try to hit the objections that you are anticipating, that you have on your list of these are the common objections. Just nip them in the bud. Don't wait until the end when they're like, I don't have time, or I don't have this or no money, or nip them in the bud before. And that's how during that discovery call, even though you're only talking 25% of the time, when you're talking, every single thing you says has value. It should be actionable. It should have some kind of meaning. I'm not just, if we're, maybe I'm a life coach, right? And I help people with parenting. So you're talking about your struggles in parenting. I'm going to tell you about the 2 kids that I have and the struggles that I had, balancing work and life, right? It's just not everything you do has to have purpose and intention.
Oh, I love that. I'm all about having things have intention. And really, honestly, wouldn't you say that sometimes if you skip some of those steps in the conversation, in the building of that relationship, it doesn't happen to me anymore, rarely, but in the beginning of my career 20 years ago, if you get to the sale too soon, you may make that sale, but depending if you're a coach or a consultant or something where you're involved for a period of time with someone, I mean, if people are being honest, haven't you ever had somebody that you did make the sale and then afterwards you were like, oh, they were not the right fit, right? Because the discovery isn't just, it's whether you're a fit for each other. It's you're building a relationship. It's a two-way conversation, right? I mean, I've had times where I've talked to somebody and clearly they weren't my ideal person. They wanted to hire me, but I knew someone else that I felt could serve them better. And I just literally, told them, I just really don't feel like we're the right fit. I really focus more here, but I know just the right person that you need to talk to because it's all about them, right? And I've had people that I have done that and they've referred other people to me because, oh, I wasn't the right fit based on what you said, but they do fit into that. And I thought it was awesome that you didn't let me hire you and sent me to somebody else, right? Because you stayed in integrity. And so I think that there are times when really it's okay to say that this person isn't the right client for you, right? And I think that that is good. So I know that you do a multitude of things in the sales world, right? So, I mean, I know that you work with entrepreneurs, you work with people who have teams, you work at a corporate level. So tell us a little bit about the process. So say somebody has a team, because I know a lot of times as an entrepreneur, you level up, I have 6 people who work for me, and there's a lot of things and a lot of roadblocks and different ways that, there can be some bottlenecks there in that process. Is that something that you can help people with?
Yes, that is actually one of my secret gems. I am really good at helping. So there are a couple of things that, I would say where my strength lies. One area is that brand new sales manager. So many times sales managers are the top salesperson. that have been promoted, and now they have to manage all of their peers. And they're like, I just want to sell for myself. And now I have to think about everybody else. And they really, really struggle with that. They really struggle from being an individual contributor going into a manager. So when I'm working with those brand new sales managers, what I'm really doing is I'm combining 3 distinct facets: executive coaching, leadership development, and sales training. And I take all 3 of those facets and we work to build that sales manager into a true sales leader. And I do the same thing with large corporations. Sometimes the sales manager is not hitting quota. They have 2 or 3 people that are hitting everything and everybody else is failing. So that is another place that I really shine, getting that sales manager to really think like a sales leader and to be a true sales coach to their team.
Wow, I love that. So basically those core competencies that you're teaching, you can do it for the entrepreneur, for the person that as they grow. So they can either come in, whether they're at this part of their business, whether they are trying to train. Because, I got to tell you, that was me back in the day. I remember, because when you're taking on a team, you kind of assume that everybody's as good as you, right? If you were the top person, right? And all of a sudden you're like kind of frustrated and you're like, well, maybe I should just go back because I could just do so much better when I only had to worry about me. So I understand that. That was me way back in my career before I bought my company. So I understand that. And you touched on that. And I was like, oh, I remember that, right? But whether you're that, that would also help people to know before they take that leap, maybe they would get the skills they need, and then they would know whether that is something that they actually really want to do, which place they want to go to. It also seems to me that I know that you're a speaker, so I know that you're an international speaker. So do you also teach these things? I know that you do workshops, right? So I know that you do training and all that. But do you also speak within those corporations as well as with entrepreneurs in entrepreneurial organizations, or do you really only focus on one?
I do both, because what I understand with entrepreneurs, a lot of times they're like, I need a salesperson. And really helping them understand, yeah, you need a salesperson, but actually you really need an accountant and you need an IT person. And maybe you should hire a marketing person because you still need to sell, right? And so speaking to organizations of entrepreneurs that want to up level, that want to double or triple their revenue, and they're like, how do I get there? That's an area that I speak to often. And then within corporations, really speaking to that mindset piece and talking about becoming a true sales coach. Stop being so tactical and start being strategic in the way that you're leading your team.
And I could see how all of those things would help them increase their bottom line, not even just counting the sales part of being a better salesperson themselves, but literally being able to teach those things too. Because really, when you think about it, once you have those skills, it's wash, rinse, repeat. And I got to tell you, that's what I love when I can hire someone and they teach you how to do something. I know for me, that's why it's so important when I have clients that I'm teaching them how to do stuff, so they're not being held hostage to me all the time. And I think that from a sales perspective, hiring somebody who is willing to teach you, because your business isn't going to stay stagnant, right? It's going to evolve. Like just with everything that happened this year, people are pivoting, right? So if you hire the right person who can teach you all those things, it's like a chessboard. Whether you move around on that chessboard in different things, you're still going to have the right skills that are going to help you to be successful and increase revenue and be good at sales.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I have a client that I worked with. She's actually a doctor, and I helped her open up her practice. And we went through everything: pricing, how you talk to patients, like everything. She had to take out a small loan, and this was last year. So this year, she paid off all her debt. Literally in a year, even through COVID, she paid off all her debt. She has 2 or 3 employees that she's been able to hire. And it's all because of the solid 6 months we worked in the beginning. And I gave her the tools that she needed to always negotiate with her vendors, to always make sure she's staying competitive in the market, to lead her team, to not just do, but actually model what needs to happen so that they can be autonomous. And, still today, she's like, I thank you so much for everything that you gave me in my business, because through this pandemic, I've seen so many businesses having to close, but I know that I'm still profitable and I still have money in the bank. I have a cushion.
Right, because you can thrive instead of survive, right? So I think that is really important. So let's kind of go back a little bit on that. So if we went back to, say, the 25-year-old self, maybe, right? I know that was only a few years ago for you, right? But we could go back. What do you wish from a sales point of view that you would have known when you first started out? You do now, and you're teaching it and everything, but what do you wish you would have known in the beginning that really was maybe the disconnect or a roadblock or whatever, that something that you had to struggle with, that now you're like, oh, I can just help you get over that. But, you wish you would have knew it then.
I wish that I would have invested more in myself. You have a company that you work for and they do sales training. They tell you, yeah, you need this or you need that. But I really wish that I would have taken more opportunities to attend sales trainings on my own, maybe even have gotten a coach, just because as a brand new salesperson, you're on the bottom of the totem pole. Your manager is so tactical. They're just going boom, boom, boom. The company says, do this, do that. You read books or watch YouTube, so you consume all the free resources. And so the time to up level takes so much longer. So for me, I wish that I would have invested a little bit more in my actual education, becoming a salesperson, because there's no classes in college or school that teach you how to be a salesperson. Like, this is something that you have to learn.
Oh, that is so good. That's a really great one too, because I think it is really true. And one of the things that I also really believe is the best investment you're ever going to make is when you invest in yourself, the best ROI you're ever going to get. And also, I think one of the things that I have found, whether I believe it's in sales too, because I know it for sure is in marketing, and I believe this is the peanut butter and jelly of where we are similar, which really honestly is, you really can't ask somebody else to invest in you if you're not willing to invest in you. It's just not going to come across authentic, And sometimes when I'm talking to people and they're like, oh my gosh, Patty, when they're thinking about a new website or, some things that maybe they need, they're like, oh, I don't know if I could write that check. And I'm like, well, what's the average commission or the average price? Or they'll come to me and they'll say, oh, Patty, I want to do this and I want to charge $5,000 for it. And I'll say, have you ever wrote a check for $5,000? And they'll say, no. And I'm like, well, it's kind of hard for you to ask somebody else to invest in you if you haven't invested in you. So you're right. In coaches, we always have coaches, right? That's what we do. I have a coach. I actually, at times, right now, I have 2. And sometimes I've had 3 because they're for specific things. Where do I want my business to be, right? So really thinking about that. So really, we're talking about sales, which is kind of like the lifeblood of your business, right? So whether you have employees, whether you're a solo entrepreneur, whether you own a corporation or whether you have a team, sales is the lifeblood of your business. So if there was ever any place to invest, that would be the place. If your skills aren't where you want them to be, it just makes sense to me that you can read all the free resources that you want to be. And this is kind of going to go with what the name of your company is coincidentally. But I always tell people all the time, I'm not in the information business. Google's in the information business. I'm in the transformation business, right? And so when you think about it, free resources are only going to get you information. Hiring someone to show you how to implement those and to work with you on where and how and what the right strategies are and what you need to do with that information. It's kind of like when you hire a plumber and he comes in and he hits that pipe, that old cliche, and says, wow, you want me to pay you $200? You were here for 5 minutes. He's like, you're not paying me the $200 for that 5 minutes. You're paying me that I knew exactly where to hit the pipe, right? So it's really the knowledge that you're paying for. So yeah, do all the free resources, but hiring the right person will shorten your learning curve, which in essence really is going to make you more money when it really comes down to that, right? Wouldn't you say?
I agree with you 100%. And one thing that you said that really struck me, and I tell every single one of my clients, is no free lunch. And I say that if you are a marketing person and you can build websites and you say, okay, I'll build your website if you do my accounting for free. No, pay, because when you pay for something, you value it more. So always charge somebody $50, charge them $100. If they have to go in their pocket and they see it debited from their account, they value it more. And so you have to value yourself enough to say, I'm going to invest $500, $5,000, $50,000, whatever it is, because you need to better yourself. And like you said, I have coaches, right? Because I know as a sales coach, I am linear, right? And there are things that I need help with, right? So
we all do.
Exactly. Nobody's perfect and no
one's an expert at everything, right? No one's an expert at every single thing. So I have to tell you, Wesleyne, you really gave us some great information. And I know that you have so much more information to give. I really love, and I kind of knew that about you before I asked you to be on my podcast, but I really love that no matter who is listening in my audience at whatever level or wherever they are in their business, like I said, whether they have a team, whether they're a solo entrepreneur, whether they own a corporation, they're talking about their sales teams or the people at the highest level, or whether they may just want you to come in and speak and teach us. I love that you can do that. So I'm all about serving my audience. So I feel like, wow, you really are like pretty much could serve every single person who's listening. So I think that is awesome. So with that said, how can they connect with you? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
They can go to my website, transformedsales.com, and they can connect with me there.
Perfect. I love that. And you came bearing gifts. So I love that. You brought a gift for the audience, and I love that. So tell us a little bit about the gift.
Yes, the gift is an ebook, and in that ebook, it's called Transforming Conversations into Sales. And it gives you the questions, or I remember I said you must ask good open-ended questions. It actually gives you those questions you need to ask in a sales call so you can actually close business.
Wow, that's a great gift. I love that. And I love with all the things that you're saying. So before we kind of get ready to wrap, I want to ask you, I want to really make sure that we're of service to you as well. So are you working on a project? What do you got going on? Maybe there's something that we can serve and support you. So tell us, what project do you have in the works, or is there something new that you have? How can we serve you?
Yes, actually on December the 9th, I will be releasing my podcast, Snack Size Sales. And what this is, it's a 15 to 20 minute action-packed podcast with sales tips from industry experts on how to increase sales, how to use LinkedIn to increase sales, or email marketing, video. So everything that people are doing in the industry to increase sales.
I love that. And I love the little snack size bites. We don't always all have a lot of time, but a little snack size. I like that too, because sometimes when people give you lots of information, you end up just picking the one anyway, right? Because you need to do something. So now you could just listen and just implement that. Is it going to be a weekly podcast?
It is. It's going to be every week on Wednesdays, Wealth Wednesdays. So on Wednesdays, you can tune in to get your snack-sized sales tips.
I love that. I love how you tied that into wealth too. That's really great. So this is the portion of our show that I like to call the open mic portion, where I hand the mic over to our guest. You know, this show is the Marketing, Media, and Money show. So I'm going to hand off the mic. And would you please share, like you've shared so much information, but what is your number one marketing, media, and money strategy?
I would say the number one strategy would be to talk less, listen more. When you're in a sales call, treat it as a sales call. When you're in a discovery call, treat it as such. So in a sales call, you want to transform each and every sales call into a sale. So talk less, listen more, transform those conversations into sales.
Oh, I think there's an art to that. So I think that's really good. But you literally shared for this whole time exactly what that is. I would say that there's nobody who could have listened to this podcast who clearly doesn't understand how important the relationship is, how important that conversation is, and what should be in the conversation at each time. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. We're going to have the link to her ebook, to her gift in the show notes. You'll be able to find it there. So Thank you so much, Wesleyne, for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
It was. So to the audience out there, thank you. Thank you so much for showing up and for joining us on the Marketing, Media, and Money podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, and I'm sure you did, please like, subscribe, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. And you know what? If you'd like to get up close and personal with our guests, I would say you should join our Facebook group, Marketing, Media, and Money, where we actually share the podcast, our sister magazine, live events, and you actually get to get up close and personal with our guests. So make sure you subscribe and leave us a review. Join us in the group so we can continue the conversation. Remember, make it a phenomenal day. And if your day isn't phenomenal, you have the power to change it.
Thank you for joining us today on the Marketing, Media, and Money podcast. To shorten your learning curve even more, make sure to grab your free copy of the Marketing, Media, and Money magazine at www.marketingmediamoney.com. I promise your business will thank you.